Hi, thank you for this meeting, and thank you, LoRa Alliance, for the event. Thank you for joining me, by the way. I'm Burak. I'm co-founder and CEO of Skysens, and today I would like to talk about ensuring sustainability for production chain, global production chains with using LoRaWAN. Just a second. Yeah. So before I start, I want to give you a brief information about Skysens. We, as a Skysens, are doing industrial IoT. We have an IoT platform, industrial IoT platform, which we call Agile Predictive Monitoring Platform. It has an embedded LoRaWAN capabilities inside the platform, so users can easily set up networks inside their enterprises. We do it to provide an agile predictive applications, not only for IT people inside the enterprise, but all levels of users, especially the maintenance and the operational people, operational operators in the enterprise. We do it mostly for energy efficiency, sustainability applications, but also predictive maintenance applications, predictive quality applications, and also health and safety applications at the same platform, at the same time, with very low setup cost and the CapEx and also the OpEx. We headquartered in Texas, Austin, in US. But we have an R&D team in Turkey, and we have people in Europe and UK also. And our presence is some part of it is in the US, but we are also expanding in the surrounding region of Turkey, like Middle Asia, GCC regions, and also Europe. You may know some of our customers and projects. For example, we have a very PR-rich application for Istanbul Airport, which is currently the busiest airport in Europe. We have a good and large deployment for Vestel Electronics, which is also the largest electronics manufacturing plant in Europe. Last year, we did a very good and also PR-rich application at Bursa City, which is the fourth largest population in terms of population in Turkey, with a company called Arup, which is a global consultancy firm from UK. It is basically the largest industrial IoT and smart city application in Turkey right now. And also we have customers like Bridgestone Tires, Kansai Paint, and so on and so forth. So they're using our applications in order to extend their reach, especially at the operational side, for the energy efficiency and other types of applications. So about my topic, ensuring sustainability for the production chain. As a disclaimer, I want to express that when I talk about production chain, it is not synonymously with the logistics chain. It's a part of logistical chain, but it's a smaller part. So I mean, I'm not talking about like location tracking or something like that, but the monitoring the production of the entire supplier's chain. So it's a part of logistics chain, but it's not the entirety. So I mean, as you know, there's a big consensus about the impact of the logistic chain in the global sustainability efforts. So the big chunk of this importance is coming from the production itself, not the tracking, not the logistics, but the production itself. So when any global enterprise think about their sustainability scoring or like monitoring their effects on the when they try to calculate their CO2 footprint, for example, they need to monitor their entire production chain instead of just location tracking or something like that. So I mean, however, I mean, it's very hard for them because due to the financial reasons, the almost all the global manufacturing companies work with several different suppliers globally. So in that sense, they are trying to create some communication channels, or like they are trying to create this auditing and real-time reporting infrastructure for their production chain at every level of suppliers. But it is getting harder and harder for them because these logistic networks are getting extended every time because of these financial reasons. So that's why it is it's very advanced, and it is very extended network, so to speak. So in our example, I would like to talk today. Some of the verticals, some of the industrial companies, they only work with, I don't know, like 4 or 5 different suppliers in every level, 1 or 2 levels. But in automotive, it is a different story. For example, in US, like 285,000 suppliers work with 140 OEMs directly. For example, for Ford Motor Company, they have 1,200 tier 1 suppliers globally, but it's only tier 1 level. So for example, like automotive has usually 5 to 6 different tiers, all starting from the OEM itself up down to the raw material manufacturing. So it is a very complex system. So it gets really detailed in that manner. So when they try to understand what is the footprint, what is the CO2 footprint of their supplier or supplier's supplier, or down to the last guy who is producing the raw material, I mean, it's a very complex situation for them. So it's a very complex situation for them. The problem is, I mean, they are trying to create some systems. They already doing auditing systems. They are already, I mean, have some kind of super ERPs working between their production systems and supplier systems, and they are going back and forth in that there. And also they are sending teams to audit the supplier's location for different purposes, especially for worker health and safety issues, or other sustainability issues. But the problem is, I mean, every supplier has a different place, right? Every supplier has a different physical environment, different physical constraints. They have a different levels of technical maturity in terms of production infrastructure. They have, I mean, they're in a different country, so, or the different states, so they face different regulation problems because of that. Their type of working is different than other one, and also the IT requirements are different, especially their IT technical maturity is different, and also the environmental requirements with conjunction to regulation requirements are different. So that's where LoRaWAN come in our project. So we did this with one of the largest automotive OEM in Europe. They have a couple of factories, hundreds of suppliers in Turkey. We work with them in order to create this connected supplier kind of a project. So the problem, I mean, their main aim was to calculate the CO2 footprint at their suppliers. I mean, they were getting reports. They were getting, for example, energy meter readings like every month from their tier 1 level suppliers, but they were not getting anything from other suppliers. But since they are a net exporter, especially to European zone, they had to calculate their like CO2 emissions for entire production chain. So we helped them to develop this infrastructure, this capability with using LoRaWAN. The thing about LoRaWAN, the thing about that our value that we put on the table is providing this private network capabilities with conjunction to industrial sensors. We deploy this network at their data center, at their cloud infrastructure, a private cloud infrastructure, with a direct access, direct GSM backhaul gateways, without hindering the supplier's IT infrastructure or without connecting, without using their connections to the internet. And we created a catalog of devices for different purposes, for example, like noise sensors, air quality sensors, indoor and outdoor. We also used different types of industrial devices, industrial sensors, with a connection to LoRaWAN via our industrial device. You can see the photo of our industrial device here. The direct access to platform, and also from our platform, we created some different UIs for manual data inputting, for some like a manual collection of data and manual reporting. And all this happened in a small box, and also some training and some integration, direct integration to the system. So because they have like hundreds of different suppliers all around the country and all around to Europe, this boxing the devices into this getting all the devices and all the systems into a single box and making it available for entire supply chain did make a lot of sense for them. And another thing that they asked us was the portability of the device, portability of the system. So because they change the supplier time to time, they don't want to stick. They don't want to just invest a lot of capex to single supplier and then stick with it, because like this year or this project they work with this supplier, but then other project they wanted to change it easily. So this practicality and portability of LoRaWAN also helped them to do the change easily. And also the analytics, that's where we actually shined a lot of for them. And the analytics, the integrated analytics part, as an integral part to their existing ERP system, did help them a lot in order to create real-time reporting and real-time alarming for their supply relationship teams. So the system basically looked like that. We put our LoRa network server at their data center, at their private cloud infrastructure, and we provided this VPN based communication to different supplier places at the different suppliers, depending on the production or product type of suppliers producing. We provided different end devices. For example, if they are very like energy intensive productions, such as like metal pressing or something like that, we used a lot of different energy sensors. But if they are more into like plastics or like like painting, we provided them a different like air quality sensors for, especially for the measurement of air inside the facility. So different sensors went to different suppliers, but the architecture is the same. We put our platform inside their data center, and we connected all these different endpoints directly from our LoRaWAN network server at the station, at the customer's place. And then also we did a lot of work in order to make it integrable to their existing system, to their ERP system especially, and also their other quality related application that they already have at hand. So it will be a little bit quick, but yeah, 15 minutes will be fine, I guess. So in the end, the advantage that we provided for our end user is basically sustainable transparency. Before us, they were only getting like reports once in a month or once in a 15 days or something. And only the reports only coming whatever the suppliers, the employees are writing on the paper. So they weren't really, transparent data for them. And also they were able to do it only for tier one type of suppliers. They don't have resources to go to tier 2 or tier 3. So because of us, now they have ability to extend that, to scale it up to other tiers of other tier levels of suppliers. So in short, we created a really good, transparent platform for sustainability monitoring with real-time scoring. I mean, we are currently like reading energy outputs for every 50 minutes. We are doing some comparative studies about the source of the energy, especially if it is coming from some dirty sources such as coal or something, or coming from company's own solar panel or solar farm or something, because lots of the manufacturing companies are nowadays putting solar panels. And also direct measurements from the labor or the workers areas, such as like noise levels, air quality levels, temperature, humidity levels, and all other workers' health and safety incidents. I mean, we provided this reporting interfaces. And also the one other thing is important thing is they have the ability to calculate the CO2 footprint depending on the part, depending on the vehicle. So in future, I mean, in future they will be able to sell the car depending on their CO2 levels. For example, if they are exporting the vehicle to some very heavily regulated market, they can choose the less CO2 vehicle. But if they are sending the car to any other less regulated place, they can send like other highly car with a more CO2, so to speak. So and also the consumers can easily choose which car they want to go with, depending on their manufactured CO2 levels. And also real-time reporting helped them a lot, especially with less auditing requirements. So their auditing teams are much more efficient than before. And because we have provided them this energy transparency tool, they know that how much energy are being consumed by which suppliers. So for them, the supplier itself also is a lower cost in terms of energy, and also for the OEM itself, it's a better negotiating point, negotiating leverage when they discuss this with their suppliers. So in the end, we created this infrastructure for their suppliers, for them and their customers, with a more collaborative environment between the OEMs and other parts of the chain. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it's helpful for you. As I mentioned, we are based in Austin, Texas. This is our email. This is our phone number. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
I've got a question. Just how many suppliers have you gone to with this platform for this manufacturer?
I think it's currently 30 plus right now. But they have like hundreds. So I mean, we are waiting for them to get the results and get the qualification, and then extend with it.
How many sensors are you putting in typically? I know it's going to be different. But as a rule of thumb, how many LoRa sensors are you installing in a factory size?
Not all the sensors are LoRaWAN. We also provide some data adapters directly getting data to SCADA. I mean, it's not plausible for most of the suppliers. They don't want to open their network to some connections. But I mean, I can fairly say like 15 to 20 devices per supplier. I mean, LoRaWAN devices, and maybe 5 or 10 different endpoints of data.
And are you going down into the production line level, monitoring energy consumption, CO2 on a production line or in a factory? And then, because a supplier will presumably produce rivets and all kinds of things, not just for one customer.
Correct.
So how's that calculated? I mean, that seems madly complicated.
It is. I mean, it can get really easily very, very complicated manner. I mean, it can really just, until you understand what you are doing, it can really get complicated. But we are trying to keep it as simple as possible. We always start with the main, for example, energy source. And then if they have other energy source, for example, if they are using solar panels, we also include them. And also we are trying to get a good quality of ERP flow in order to understand at what time they are producing for who, in order to divide that. I mean, it is sometimes problematic in terms of supply relationship, but if you are coming from OEM, usually, I mean, because we work with a very, very big OEM in that manner, they didn't want to lose the customer. So they were okay with that. And also we used some interfaces for them in order to check the data, in order to make a good use of it. So, I mean, it's kind of a political game when you think about that. But we always do it like step by step. Start small and then try to make it large. It's going good so far.
And is the auto manufacturer making changes in their supply, changing response, and is the supply chain making changes in their operation?
Correct.
Both these things are happening.
Correct. So, but I mean, if you are staying at the, for example, energy monitoring manner, we are not like providing MES system or something, or SCADA system in that sense. We are only try to get data which is relevant to our case. So in that manner, it's much more simplistic than just deploying some large scale platform to some end user. But I mean, we are trying to be careful about not to mix up with all these difficulties.
Supplying a LoRa system to the automotive manufacturer to do it, to check itself. Do you see what I mean? Is that part of the work as well? So
that part, I mean, it depends. For some suppliers, we go for them to the supplier itself. But for some suppliers, they are trying to train their team in order to embed it to this system, and they want to hand over all the work that we are currently doing for them. But it may take some time. Up until now, we mostly go to supplier by ourselves with direction from their supply relationship team. But I think in some point, maybe like next year or something, they will hand over all the stuff. I mean, we designed the system to make it as portable as possible. So I don't think it shouldn't. I don't think it should be a problem. I mean, they can do that.
Does the fact that it's being directed by the manufacturer at
Yeah.
the top end of the chain?
Yes.
Does that mean that you've got a kind of self-contained system you're dropping in to a
Correct.
manufacturing plant?
Correct.
And is that mean you don't need to integrate, you don't need to mess with the IT teams, anything like that?
Yeah.
You just come in,
Yeah.
deploy it.
Yeah, via the 4G or 3G backhauling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does that mean that it's a different discipline to a company which wants to run its own checks and therefore, is looking at industrial IoT in the broader sense and might be looking at private LTE or 5G and this kind of stuff, and then suddenly the conversation's different and the role of
Correct.
LoRaWAN is different. Is that right?
Correct. That's the case. I mean, if they, for example, if they want to deploy by themselves some kind of energy efficiency application in entire of their facilities, it is a little bit different thinking. They are after usually really like short return of investment periods, and they are really after the decreasing their energy costs, etc. But they usually don't have the experience, because of that it takes a lot of time for them. We do also similar projects. Sometimes we directly go to supplier itself as a separate project, not related to this one, and we again, I mean, we are hurdling all these having all these problems when they try to deploy the system. So it is an entirely different thing. LoRaWAN helped us in order to overcome those hurdles because it's entirely isolated system. It's entirely after the good data points, not all the things that when you think about when you try to deploy your own IoT platform. So it helped a lot. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much.